So drywall is a very, very crucial part of our job because we do a lot of drywall touch-up, we do a lot of drywall repairs, we do a lot of just drywall patches to begin with. So it's real crucial for you to learn this skill, and I really mean that in a sincere way, because the more value that you bring to our business, the more we're going to want to pay you because you're providing that value for us. So I'm going to go over some drywall things that are pretty essential to have and to know about. There's a couple products up here that are just kind of different to know about. So we're going to call this our drywall / paint area. So first of all, okay, so the first thing you're going to really need to do good drywall is a clean drywall pan. They always say that a good drywall guy has a clean pan. So you always want to make sure you have a clean pan. To complement that, you always want to have clean knives. So this is a 12-inch pan. This is a 10-inch knife. You're going to need a variety of knives, really. You're going to need a 10-inch. And notice that this doesn't have a hammerhead like these do on the back. There's a reason for that. Most people don't go around doing drywall touch-ups with a 10-inch knife. They use a 6-inch or a 3-inch. So it always has this. So when you go to the nail pops and you screw them back in, you can take and you tap around it to make it slightly indented. And then you'll go back over with your mud and it'll actually be flush when you go to sand it. So a 10-inch, a 6-inch, and a 3-inch for tight spaces. Now I do have two other knives on here, and this is a putty knife if you need to get in a really tight space, you know, like around an electrical outlet and a piece of trim or something like that. This is a really good one to have as well. This is a 1-inch knife, so that's a good one to have. This one right here, I want to pay attention to the fact that it's really sharp. It's got a sharp edge on it, and it's got an actual beveled sharp edge on it. This one I use actually to get windows, to separate silicone from windows. It's super flexible like that, and you can get behind it. You kind of use it like at this angle, and then if you want to see this thing in action, go check out the window video that I have, how to remove a silicone window. So check that one out. You want to have a good heat gun. Then this is a really expensive heat gun. I wish it had more power behind the blower, but it doesn't. So, but it's a Wagner heat gun. You can get the $29 one, and that works just as fine. So a good heat gun is always a must-have. That way you can get in. I use 20-minute mud a lot, and with 20-minute mud you can dry it really, really fast with a heat gun. And so we use 20-minute mud in a heat gun, and sometimes we'll use a regular mud for a final coat. So 20-minute mud is a big tip, so make sure you're paying attention to that 20-minute mud thing. And I know it sucks to learn a new skill or something new, to use a new product. It sucks to use 20-minute mud for the beginning, but the more you can figure it out and you can get your workflow to work with the 20-minute mud, the faster, more efficient, more valuable you're going to be to me, so and to the company. So a good caulk gun. Now look, everybody trips about how much money they spend on a caulk gun. They may get a really expensive caulk gun, and I'll be honest, a lot of the expensive caulk guns are pieces of junk. This is the HDX, the off-brand of Home Depot, and it's the drip-free. Every time you hit that button, it releases the pressure, and it's the drip-free. This is the best caulk gun that I have seen money can buy. I think it's like $3. It's the cheapest gun, but it is a really good gun. So sometimes cheaper is not always better, but in this situation, it is. We have here sanding blocks. These are just some standard sanding blocks. This one's a fine, you can see, because it just doesn't have any grit on it. This is an 80, and that's how you find out what they are when you're trying to go through your box and you have a bunch of these. It says 80 right there. So this is an 80 grand sandpaper. They make 60, so a lot of people complain about 20-minute mud, how long it takes to sand 20-minute mud, and I was like, well, what kind of grandage sandpaper are you using? And they say, well, 220. I'm like, you're going to be there forever with 220. You got to get a 60 grit or an 80 grit sandpaper or sand and block to sand 20-minute mud. So that's kind of a trick of the trade. I've never explained that to people, but that is the truth. If you say it takes forever to sand 20-minute mud, that's why you don't like it. It's because you're using the wrong sandpaper. Use an 80 or a 60 grit sandpaper, and then if you want to finish it, use a fine that way. So sand and blocks, they're a must-have. I want to talk about for a second, if you have a drywall patch that's in a weird area, and it may be best to use a drywall patch. So this is the Wallboard Tools brand drywall patch. This is the 4x4 patch. These are really cool because they're mesh and then they're metal underneath. and they have a sticky background so that you actually peel the sticker off the back of it when you go to install it. These are a couple dollars, and it's really convenient when you're trying to save time, and if you don't have any drywall on hand and you got to do a patch, but you got one of these, you can go ahead and use one of these versus the drywall, because drywall does make a better patch because it doesn't stick out, and sometimes as these are drying, it tends to bulk out a little bit, but you just have to sand it a little more. So drywall patches are really cool to have in your drywall box. A paint roller is a really good essential tool to have. You need to make sure you have one of these, because we use little hot dog rollers on these. Fine, smooth rollers, sponges. I mean, you can use everything on one of these. And I like the smaller 3-inch ones, because when you get a 6-inch roller, you can actually roll it in your pan a whole lot easier than the huge 6-inch ones. So the 6-inch ones add an extra little good bit on the edge, and it's really hard to get down in those pans. Next, we have a paint arm. So this is the quick disconnect. You push this button, it has that little lever that pushes down, and you just attach it like that, and then you let the lever go, and it's good to go. And then you push this button, and it extends the whole pole to I think this is 5 feet or something like that. So really good tool to have when it comes to painting your drywall repairs. Now this is the mysterious thing that a lot of people talk about. They really don't know when and what to use for different tape joints and things like that, especially when you're doing repairs or you're trying to go real fast. If you have a sketchy area that maybe don't have a whole lot of backing, you want to make sure that you know what kind of tape to use. This is the standard Cheapo Depot paper tape. A lot of people don't like using paper tape because it bubbles real bad. You know, if you don't know what you're doing, it can bubble real bad, then you end up having to go put 2 and 3 coats on it. Because paper tape has a seam down in the middle of it like that, I only use paper tape when it comes to doing corners. I never use paper tape on a straight patch or anything anymore. I only use it when I'm doing corners. So I will bend the corner, and I use this for corners, and that's it. Paper tape. Then you have the mesh tape. I call this the Band-Aid tape because it's the color of a Band-Aid, I kind of feel. It's sticky on one side, and it's just mesh on the other side. This stuff is super rubbery. It's made out of rubber. It says on the description when you get it brand new that it says on the edge right here, it'll have a label, and it'll say for really extra strength bonds is what it says. So if you've got an area that's moving or something like that, and you need to, you want to make sure that you get the bond really well so it doesn't crack in the future. This mesh tape is the best thing you can do. And man, you could put this on, put a couple pieces, a coat of mud on it, and then go back and put some more of this on, and then coat over that, and it's a really strong bond. It's probably the strongest bond that you can get as far as drywall joints go. I use this on a lot of patches, crazy areas, crazy corners, edges. I don't ever use this out of inside corners, and I've never used it on outside corners. I only use this when I'm doing flat work. So, and then my favorite tape is the Fiber Fusion. You can only get this at Lowe's. You can get this at Home Depot, and I believe at Lowe's. It's probably a different color at Lowe's, but most of the time I get this at Home Depot. This you can only get at Lowe's, but it's actually fiberglass mesh. Like if you were going to do a fiberglass patch on like a boat or something, this is fiberglass mesh tape. And what's so cool about this stuff is that when you get it coated, you can actually sand it. It's kind of crazy. So once you get your mud on there, you put this on, and what's really awesome about it is that it doesn't leave the bubbles that the paper tape will. This stuff, because it's porous and it's holy, it's fiberglass, you can see how it's just kind of thrown together, the air will go right through it. And so this stuff will never bubble on you. So, and it's good you just put a coat of mud on and then throw this on it and then press it into the mud. And this stuff is just amazing. When you go to sand and finish it, it sands right off, and it just makes a great joint. So Fiber Fusion is a great name for it because it fuses everything together when you're sanding. So I use this 90% of the time. I use this probably 5% of the time. I know that's off numbers, but I've rarely used this, only on corners. So this is the 3 kinds of tape that we use. You play with it and figure out what's best for you, but I've been doing this for 10 years. and I've had so many problems with paper tape that I've had to go back and fix, or so many problems with that. When I found these 2 different tapes, it was really, really good. There's another type of tape that has metal in it. It's called level line. And if you're doing like a gable eave that has a flat part on it and you have to do those 2 corners, a lot of you drywall guys know what I'm talking about. I will use level line in that regard, because the level line is going to make you, it's going to give you the straightest line possible. And that product just works really, really well for those applications. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it really helps as far as what kind of tools you need to have when you're getting started. It really does explain a lot and fills in a lot of gaps for us, but and for our training purposes. And that's really what this is for our internal training purposes. So thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, share it. I hope you guys have a great day and stay safe out there. Have a good day.